Hello and good day to you. Welcome and thank you for watching. So this is what's her face? Kendall Mintcake in Parliament, and she's been on the MSM bandwagon now, claiming that millions of people are spending up to and more than 5 years on benefits, especially disabled people, without having to find a job or indeed getting a job. So that's the premise for this particular story, which is in mainstream media, and as you can see by this graphic, which was taken from the paper in concerned, basically claiming that these are lazy people and they are having a life on benefits because they're too lazy to get out and get a job. It's a dangerous, slippery road down. They're taking this road to persecution and abuse.
When you're disabled and you're constantly bombarded with the headlines that disabled people are faking and lazy and worthless, it really makes you feel unsafe. The reason that the government promotes this, and promotes this through the media, is to garner hatred and dehumanise disabled people. And that's exactly what happens. We'll be out and about and people will throw hatred at you. You'll get hate crimed. If you feel incredibly vulnerable to have a wheelchair, a mobility device, a wheelchair van with very clear stickers on the side showing that you are disabled, because you know that people feel enabled to hate crime you, and you know that no one cares. You know that you technically could go to the police, but the police aren't going to take your side. They're not going to look after you or do anything about it. Germany in the 1930s, they dehumanized disabled people, and when they started dying from supposed natural causes, nobody said anything. And when they started being gassed en masse, no one said anything, because they dehumanized them through the media, through propaganda. That's all the media is in this country. It's not free media. They talk about exactly what they're told to talk about. And they're told to talk about how the refugees and the disabled and the trans people are the reason that you're poor. They're not the reason that you're poor. The billionaires hoarding the wealth are the reason that you're poor, and you will never be a billionaire, but you may one day, very soon, be a disabled person. I have a progressive disease. It's like MS, but it's a rare form. I'm not going to get better, I'm only going to get worse. So if you remove your benefits from me, I'm not going to magically be able to work full time, as much as I'd love to be able to work full time. I was an NHS nurse. I can't work full time. You remove benefits from people, they're going to die, and you're not going to care because the media will have dehumanized them all.
Talking of abuse, here's my example.
Do you speak English?
Yes.
Too bad as to look at you. There are many people that are worse handicapped than you.
Yes.
You can smile.
I can.
Yes.
That's right.
I don't smile at you.
Why is that?
I don't smile to
Why
you.
is that?
I don't smile to you, you know. So you don't smile to me, okay?
Yeah, whatever you want.
Yes.
Whatever you want.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Have a nice day.
I will do, yes.
Yeah.
I'll have a very nice day.
Yeah. Tell the cops you love them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell the cops you love them.
Yeah. That's a bit weird. What we want to know from old Kendall Cake, we want to know what she's doing to make jobs accessible and available. Now, if you do a quick search, you'll find that there are plenty of jobs out there. I mean, there's not as many as there used to be, but there are jobs. But how many of those are actually available for people with disabilities. And then again, if you do apply, how many employers are going to take you on? Yeah, I think you'll agree with me that this is a disingenuous statement on her behalf, typically of the Labour Party in general. This is the persecution that they are doing against us. So I can talk from my own experience that after I left school in 79, I had a year in what they call a youth training scheme. And I was working for Avon Tyres, a Raven rubber. It was basically working in the office, doing all sorts of things. And I really enjoyed my year. But unfortunately, it came to an end in 1980. And from then, from 1980 to 1988, I was unemployed. I was on the benefits system. I also had my PIP claim, obviously, because I had that from 1975-ish, somewhere around there. It was actually not called that. It was called mobility allowance, and it only changed to DLA in the 80s, late 80s. So I believe, was it 80s? Yeah, somewhere around there. And of course, I spent 8 years looking for jobs and things, and it didn't come off. Well, after 8 years, I finally decided that I wanted to do another scheme, like an employment scheme. So I went round and I said, look, I want to get on this scheme. And they said, well, you find an employer that you want to go and work for, and we can arrange it. Anyway, so I had this application for a job in a computer company. Well, they weren't doing computers, but they were doing a computer system, and they wanted somebody to program. As I was self-taught programmer from 85 onwards, when I was like unemployed, unoccupied, and trying to learn new skills, I actually applied for this job. I went for the interview, and it was me and one other person. Unfortunately, I suspect, and I strongly suspect, that because I was disabled, they employed the other guy. I can't prove it, obviously, but that was my feeling. I was as qualified as anybody else because they were on about on-site training and things like this, so I was able to use a computer and program a computer. So that's why I applied for it, and I was very, very disappointed that I didn't get the job. Now, so what I did was I went back to the job centre and I said, look, I've got an employer, I'd like to go and work for them. And I did it deliberately because I thought if I get in there, I can prove that I'm the better man. And that's what I did. So I was working in the job with the other guy, in the job that I applied for that I didn't get. And I worked there. I worked there for about 3 or 4 months. And in actual fact, what it turned out to be is I was learning the programming system, but I was also teaching the other guy that they took on. Yeah, I was. He didn't have a clue. And I was there, I was learning it, I was fairly well off with the knowledge, and I was teaching him how to do things. And obviously the bosses saw that. And then I thought, well, they didn't employ me, but I've proven I was the right man for the job. I was applying for other jobs as well, and I got one. In fact, I got one with Avon Tyres. Yes, that was the one I did with the youth training scheme all those years ago, and it was a programming job. So I handed in my notice, and I went to work for Avon Tyres. Yep, and basically what happened a few months or a few weeks later, I was in my house, my flat, I had a knock on the door, and it was the boss from the old business. He came in, he said, look, I know you really left the job because you wanted a full-time job, and I know that we didn't employ you, etc. We would really like you to come back full-time. And I went, sorry, I've got a job, I'm very happy where I am, and you didn't employ me first time round. Bye. So from that time onwards, I was working for Avon Tyres, and I had 5 years where I was doing programming. I had computer programs on all of the machines in the factory. That's what I did. I made programs to control the data on these machines, and I can claim that one of my programs was taken back to China. Yep, so that's me. I'm famous, famous in China. I don't know if they ever used it or not, but I'm not sure. But I spent 5 years there, and I actually, by the time I finished 5 years, I was in a better position to get another job in IT, which I did. I went to work with the local council, so Wiltshire Council, and I was doing programming and various other IT stuff there. At the same time I was doing all that, I was working privately as an IT person, so I was basically sort of self-employed as well on the side. So I spent 5 years doing that, and then from that job with the council, I went and did a full-time field service job, and I was working for Digital, Dell, Compaq, HP as a field service engineer. And after 5 years of that, then I moved on and got this job in Shore Trust. By that time, I was working in on the side. I was working in Qigong and Tai Chi, and I developed that so that after 5 years of Short Trust, I was ready to go self-employed around about 2009, I think I was. So I've been self-employed ever since. At one point in around about 2000, somewhere around there, I was employed on the side as part-time in the local college, and I was teaching IT. So I've actually done a load of jobs in IT and teaching, and of course that's really what pushed me into becoming self-employed later on in life. It is quite demoralising, I can tell you that now. Spending 5 years, 8 years for me on the benefits in those days when they weren't really that bothered and they just let you get on with whatever you wanted to do. Not like now, where you have to prove everything you were doing, you have to attend interviews, things like this. In them days, you could apply for jobs, and I did apply for jobs, but to be fair, they were far and few between. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you've had a good video there, enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day.